Coming up on 5 Minute News. Israel hails UAE deal, but Palestinians are dismayed. Trump admits he is undermining USPS to make it harder to vote by mail. And WHO says people should not fear COVID-19 in food packaging. It's Friday, August 14. I'm Anthony Davis. Israel talked of history, and Palestinians talked of being blindsided after Thursday's surprise announcement of a deal to normalize relations between the Jewish state and the United Arab Emirates. In a nationwide televised address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the deal would lead to a full and formal peace with the Gulf Arab state and voiced that other countries in the region would follow the UAE's example. Netanyahu said it also entailed acceding to a request from US President Donald Trump to temporarily wait on implementing the Israeli leader's pledge to annex parts of the occupied West Bank. It's an incomparably exciting moment, a historic moment for peace in the Middle East, Netanyahu said. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas seemed to be taken by surprise by the Israel-UAE deal and was holding meetings with key aides. He has refused all political dealings with the Trump administration for more than 2 years, accusing it of taking a consistently pro-Israel stance. Asked if the Palestinian Authority or Palestine Liberation Organization were aware the deal was coming, Hanan Ashrawi, a veteran Palestinian negotiator, said, "No, we were blindsided. Their secret dealings are now completely out in the open. It's a complete sellout." For Israel and the White House, it signified a welcome rapprochement with a key Gulf player in a region from which Israel has long been isolated, aside from 2 peace treaties with its immediate neighbours, Egypt and Jordan. Netanyahu said that while he had promised to apply Israeli sovereignty to areas, including Jewish settlements in the territory which Palestinians seek for a future state, he had made clear he first needed a green light from Washington. Netanyahu said the annexation plan was on temporary hold, appearing to contradict statements from Emirati officials who said it was off the table. Analysts say this deal is less about peace in the Middle East and more about building an anti-Iran alliance. Donald Trump on Thursday said his team was rejecting Democrats' bid to include funds for the US Postal Service and shore up election infrastructure in a new coronavirus relief bill, as he vowed to block money to facilitate mail-in voting. Congressional Democrats accused Trump of trying to damage the struggling Postal Service in an effort to improve his chances of being re-elected in November. The Republican president has been railing against mail-in ballots for months as a possible source of fraud, although millions of Americans, including much of the military, have used the post office to cast absentee ballots for years without any problems. The items are the post office and the $3.5 billion for mail-in voting, Trump told Fox Business Network, saying Democrats want to give the post office $25 billion. If we don't make the deal, that means they can't have the money, that means they can't have universal mail-in voting, the president said. Democrats have cried foul, accusing Trump and his party of trying to make it harder for Americans to vote, as opinion polls show him trailing his Democratic rival, former Vice President Joe Biden. Critics say that this is further evidence of Trump's fascist ideals, which started with the denigration of the free press as the enemy of the people, the refusal to investigate election interference, and now an attempt to stifle a free vote. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's re-election campaign has sued 2 Democratic-leaning Iowa counties that are making it easier to vote by mail during the pandemic. The Trump campaign, the Republican National Committee, and other GOP groups filed the lawsuits on Wednesday against elections officials in Lynn and Johnson counties. At issue are absentee ballot request forms that the counties are sending to registered voters, with personal information already filled in, including their names, dates of birth, and voting PIN numbers. Voters just have to review, sign, and return the forms to get ballots in October that they can then mail back or drop off, avoiding crowded polling places. Democrats and voting rights groups called the lawsuits a baseless attempt to suppress voting during a pandemic that has already killed 950 people in Iowa. The Trump campaign and GOP groups did not sue Republican-leaning Woodbury County, where the auditor sent pre-populated forms to 57,000 registered voters this month. Trump carried that county by 8,500 votes in 2016. The World Health Organization said on Thursday it saw no evidence of coronavirus being spread by food or packaging and urged people not to be afraid of the virus entering the food chain. 2 cities in China said they had found traces of the coronavirus in imported frozen chicken wings from Brazil and on outer packaging of frozen Ecuadorian shrimp, raising fears that contaminated food shipments might cause a new outbreak. People should not fear food or food packaging or processing or delivery of food, WHO Head of Emergencies Programme Mike Ryan told a briefing in Geneva. There is no evidence that food or the food chain is participating in transmission of this virus, and people should feel comfortable and safe. More than 20 million people have been reported to be infected by the novel coronavirus globally, and almost 750,000 have died. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Please subscribe, rate and review us at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an independent production covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering unbiased, verified and truthful world news daily.